All right, in our last video, we talked about 2 movements that people in Okinawa do to live to 100 years and beyond. We talked about eating on the floor, so literally 70, 80, 90, 100-year-old people are eating their meals sitting down on the floor and getting up and standing. So that's actually very impressive, because what I've noticed is people in their after late 50s, they do not go to the ground ever. So being able to get up and down off the ground, we're going to talk about that progression. And then the second piece, number 2, is holding a full squat in the garden. 80, 90-year-old people and beyond are literally doing their gardening in a full squat. How do you get to that range of motion, especially if you're a person that you're like, I don't go to the floor, I'm not doing a full squat, but maybe you're 60, 70, 80, and you want to work on those things. So there's a couple basic movements that we can do to help to get you into those positions. So number 1 is being able to externally rotate your leg on both sides. What do I mean by that? I mean the ability to put an ankle onto a knee and to push down gently and to be able to open up my left side of my hip. This is very important, especially if I'm gonna go down to the ground and be in a cross-leg position. So it can be as simple as holding this position, holding it for about 30 seconds, and then switching sides and doing the other side. And what you want to notice too is my range of motion, is it pretty even, or is one side tighter and or painful? And if that's the case, pain is your guide, and you want to actually come out of that and just gently go into the position. Pain should not increase, but you're trying to get that range of motion pretty even. So that'd be the first thing. You hold it about 30 seconds to a minute, but you're externally rotating your legs to open up your hips. And notice too, as I'm sitting here, what I'm not doing is the typical American rounded back, rounded shoulder, computer posture position. I'm actually sitting up, tilting my pelvis forward and kind of sitting up tall. So that actually would be the first exercise to work on, is just learning how to sit tall in your seat. But second one would be opening up your hips and doing both sides. And then the next exercise is a sitting hip flexor lift. We want to wake up these hip flexor muscles that actually pull our legs through when we're walking, and it's as simple as lifting straight up. Getting my leg to come straight up, that knee to come straight up and straight down, and I'm only lifting about 3 inches off the floor. I'm coming straight up and straight down. You could do it for about 30 seconds to a minute per side. A minute's kind of long, might be 30 seconds. I'm going to do the other side, about 30 seconds. And I've essentially opened up my hip. I'm getting a little bit of hip flexor engagement. And then the last thing is you want to start to practice being able to get up out of a chair without using your hands. So without doing this, which so often, if we look at the side view of this position, how often do you see people standing out of a chair, but yet they've got to push, push, push with their hands? So our goal is actually, and you could have another chair, something stable at your sides if you need it, but the goal is to eventually get to the point where you can sit tall, you've got your shoulders back, and you can lean forward a little bit, and you're standing up, and then you're sitting down in that chair. Standing up and sitting down. And notice I'm basically doing a squat is what I'm doing, but being able to get up out of a chair would be a goal. So maybe, for the first couple weeks, you're practicing opening up one side, you're practicing opening up the other side, you're practicing those hip flexor lifts. And then you start trying to get out of your seat with less of a push. And maybe you can't get out of a seat without using your hands. So maybe you practice using a little bit less of a push and getting up. Maybe that's the movement. Is you just actively say, instead of, oh my gosh, try and arch your back a little bit, sit tall, and get your hips to wake up, basically. Get the muscles in your legs to wake up, and you're actually going to push a little bit less, focus on the legs doing the work, and standing. And the key to this too is that as we get older, our lower bodies start to shut off. They don't work as well. We start to kind of lean forward. We start to compensate, and our upper body tries to help our lower body. We want to actually break that chain, and we want to make sure that your lower body is doing work, because maybe after 30 we stop sprinting oftentimes. By the time we get into our 60s and 70s, like we said, we may never go to the floor. Well, you want to have the ability to go to the ground, to cross your legs, and you want to have the ability to stand up. Okay? So we'll break down in some other videos of some specifics to help you transition up and down off the floor. But this video simply is working on opening up your hips and starting to wake up your lower body and get you comfortable transitioning out of a chair without using your hands as much. And eventually you will get to the point where the goal is to where you can get to the point where you can stand without using your hands and getting back down to the ground. Hope these tips helped. Stay tuned for more videos on transitioning up and down off the floor.